Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're doing very well. I'm here today to review Game Week 1 in the Premier League, and what a fantastic game week it was. So many exciting matches, so many goals and big surprises, so let's get straight into it. So starting off, Friday night, Selhurst Park, Crystal Palace 0, Arsenal 2, and there's only one place to start really, and that's Arsenal. In the first 15 or 20 minutes, they were absolutely electric, especially going forwards. Very, very strong were Arsenal, and they deservedly took the lead. And to be fair, they looked really strong defensively as well in the first half. They completely controlled the game. It was a complete contrast to last season, where they also were away from home in London on the opening night in the Premier League, where they lost 2-0 convincingly against Brentford. This time they completely controlled the first half in this game. But in the second half, Crystal Palace did grow into the game. Eze absolutely should have scored when he went through one-on-one. I was very annoyed because he is in my fantasy team. And to be fair, Arsenal, apart from that, generally speaking, they did lose control, but they held on. They held firm. They were strong enough defensively. Ramsdale made enough good saves. And in the end, Arsenal made it 2-0. And then at 2-0, the game was over. And Arsenal won. But I think overall, they look completely different to the team that played this time last year against Brentford away from home, where this time Arsenal had more control, they were stronger defensively, and then going forward, Jesus gives them so much options in terms of his link-up play, his ability to run down the channels, even his ability to head the ball, his enthusiasm to press as well. Is absolutely fantastic, and it gives Arsenal a whole different dynamic going forward. And I said before the season started that Chelsea will get into the top 4, but on this showing, Friday night away from home against Palace on the opening night, it's a difficult place to go, and Arsenal for the most part played really, really well, so I was very impressed with them. As for Palace, look, they were good enough going forward to prove to me and a lot of people that they will be absolutely fine. Of course, they were out with Michael Olise, who's injured, and Christian Benteke has now transferred away from Palace to DC United. So maybe Palace might want to get a replacement from Benteke, but for the most part, I'm not too worried about Palace and their prospects for this up-and-coming season. The only thing I will say about Palace is that they play Liverpool away next, and within the next 4 games, they also play Man City away from home. Now, granted, they play Villa at home and they play Brentford, 2 relatively easy fixtures. And some people might say it's good to get Liverpool away and Man City away out of the way early. But if Palace don't beat Aston Villa or Brentford, then it's going to look like suddenly a poor start to the season. And like I said, yes, some people might say getting Liverpool, Arsenal and Man City out the way early is good, but you want to start the season well. And if you don't start the season well, that kind of sets the tone for the rest of the season. But like I said, the performance was okay against Arsenal, but obviously not the result they wanted. Then definitely the surprise results of the game week. We have Fulham drawing 2-2 against Liverpool. Before I talk about Liverpool, let's give Fulham some credit. They were absolutely fantastic. So much attacking intent. Mitrovic was excellent. He continues his excellent goal-scoring form from last season. He was really, really good, showing his finishing ability with the penalty and his finish there, but then also his header beating Trent at the back post. Absolutely fantastic from him. If Fulham are going to stay up, it will be because of Mitrovic and his goals. Now, I did say before the season started that he would get at least 10 goals or more, and he's off to a good start there. So, fair play Fulham. Excellent, excellent point for them. For Liverpool, yeah, they'll be very disappointed because it is ultimately 2 points dropped. Playing a newly promoted team, you would expect Liverpool to not only win, but completely dominate the game. Having said that, though, they did create an XG of over 2, and they did have some really, really good chances. And also, when he came on, Núñez looked very good. So the future is relatively bright for Liverpool. They've obviously just got to start their winning run against Palace on the Monday night. Another newly promoted team that got a positive result, and that's Bournemouth, but this time they won. They beat Aston Villa 2-0 at home, and actually last season they played a 4-2-3-1 formation or a 4-3-3 formation, but actually against Aston Villa they switched to a back 5 and they had Kiefer Moore and Dominic Solanke up front, and I think that's really smart because obviously with any team that comes up from the Premier League, they just generally speaking when they get relegated it's because they don't score enough goals. But For Bournemouth, I think in Kiefer Moore and Dominic Solanke, they've actually got enough goals to stay up, because Kiefer Moore is just one of those players that has developed really late on. He started playing non-league football in his early 20s, didn't actually start playing league football until his mid to late 20s, and only now at 29 is starting to play regularly in the Premier League. But the thing with Kiefer Moore is that he can score all different types of goals. He's got a great left foot and right foot, to be fair. Great penalty box striker, but also, as he proved against Aston Villa, he is excellent in the air. He's excellent in the air, but then also you've got someone like Solanke who really links well and plays off Kiefer Moore well, because Solanke's the one that can run down the channels, he's got that pace, and is also tall himself as well. So I think Bournemouth have got really good striking options in Kiefer Moore and Dominic Solanke. So that's the key to their survival. And also, Bournemouth, generally speaking, are actually quite a tall team. Both Solanke and Kiefer Moore are huge. Billing is massive, as is Chris Mepham, and Lloyd Kelly is very good in the air. So, and Lerma is a really aggressive midfielder. So, like I said, Bournemouth have got really tall, strong players, and they looked very well against Aston Villa. But for Aston Villa, to me, they just don't look that ready. They looked disorganised going forward, and they did create a few chances and maybe deserved a goal, but it wasn't a good start for them. Unlike Leeds United, who were excellent against Wolverhampton Wanderers, and they won by 2-1. Leeds, from the off, were very aggressive, and they pressed very well. And yes, Marcelo Bielsa was fantastic for Leeds. He was a legend of a manager. But Leeds' pressing against Wolves seemed way more coordinated and focused. And it seemed like Jesse Marsch has really drilled in his coaching methods and his drills and how he wants to play football to the Leeds United players. And I thought the Leeds United signings looked excellent, especially Arison and Tyler Adams. And the really promising thing for Leeds United is that they've got so many talented young players. So the future definitely is bright for Leeds United. It might take some amount of time for all the signings to settle in, but I mean, based on this evidence, they look really, really strong. But for Wolves, they weren't particularly great. Their goal was fantastic, don't get me wrong, but there's still major doubts about their team. I think Conor Cody leaving is a big issue, and yes, he might not play as much this season if he had stayed, because now Wolves are going to switch to a back four. But Conor Cody's been at Wolves for so many years, he'll be a massive voice that's lost in the dressing room, and it's not like he was one of those departures that was planned from the back end of last season and all the fans and the players expected it. No, start the season, he's on the bench, and then he's off. So I think that'll be a big shock to Wolves, and actually might take them a few weeks or so to get used to the fact that Conor Cody is not there in the dressing room. But then also you've got players like Morgan Gibbs-White potentially leaving as well, who started against Leeds. So it's not looking that great for Wolves, but I will say though, they're set to sign Guedes from Valencia, and he's a long-term target, so that's a big, big, big boost. And also Neto coming back from injury. I said before the start of the season that he will feel like a new signing, and he did. He showed real promising signs against Leeds. So there's some promising signs for Wolves, but overall it's not looking that great. It's not an ideal start to the Premier League campaign. Newcastle were very comfortable at home against Nottingham Forest, and that was to be expected given that Newcastle have that Premier League experience, making those new signings, although none of them started, but you had the likes of Callum Wilson and Bruno Guimaraes and Alan Saint-Maximin playing really, really well for Newcastle. Kieran Trippier looked excellent at right back, which was to be expected. But for Forest, I wouldn't take too much notice in this game because they've made a lot of new signings. Newcastle away is a difficult opening game, and really I think their Premier League campaign is going to start at home at the City Ground against West Ham. The atmosphere will be absolutely electric, and I would be surprised if they don't beat West Ham, just because I think the atmosphere will be incredible, and I can see Forest dominating the ball against West Ham. But speaking of West Ham, they lost against Man City, which was to be expected from their point of view. Not ideal, the fact that Antonio's gone off injured, but Samaka came on and looked promising for them. So for West Ham, I mean, you can't really read too much into the game against Man City because it is the best team, and it's good for their point of view that they've got Man City out the way. But playing Forest away from home as your first game is not ideal. That's not good for West Ham. But then for Man City, they looked so strong. And the main question was about Haaland. Was he going to start the Premier League campaign well? And oh my word, didn't he look amazing? Tall, big, strong, quick, good in the air. He looked phenomenal. And I posted on my thumbnail and in the title of this video, how many goals will Haaland score? I genuinely think he will score 30 goals in all contributions. And I wouldn't be surprised if he got over 30 goal contributions in the Premier League alone. He looks that fantastic. And just wait till he really gets set off and going. He could score the likes of, 3-4 goals in matches. He looks phenomenal, does Haaland. So, Man City, great start for them. And amazing that Haaland has already got 2 goals in his first game in the Premier League. He's already keeping up his goal scoring rate from the Bundesliga. Just phenomenal from him and Man City. Spurs were very comfortable against Southampton. I mean, we didn't learn too much from that game. The fact that Spurs didn't actually start any of the new signings is so promising for Conte and his team. So from their point of view, that's fantastic. And yes, Saints, they did take the lead, but we didn't really learn too much from them. For Saints, the real test will be next weekend when they play Leeds at home. And then for Everton, similar to them, playing Chelsea on the first day is not ideal. And having Dominic Calvert-Lewin injured the week before the Premier League starts is not ideal. But to me, it was a very scrappy, horrible game that Chelsea just managed to edge. But it just also shows how much Everton heavily rely on Calvert-Lewin and heavily relied on Richarlison. And it's going to be a big asking point and big question. How are Everton going to be able to replace Calvert-Lewin? That's going to be a real difficult issue for them. I've already mentioned West Ham and Man City as one of the Sunday games. Another Sunday game that happened, Man United playing at home to Brighton and losing by 2-1. And to be honest, who was actually surprised? That's the state that Man United are in. The fact that people weren't even surprised that Brighton dominated the game, create the better chances. I think the only surprise was that actually Brighton were clinical and managed to take their chances and Man United weren't. So all credit to Brighton. Graham Potter has really coached this team so well. I'll be amazed if by this point at the start of next season, Graham Potter isn't at another club or maybe even in the England job, because he's starting to earn it now. And the fact that Brighton have lost Cucurella and Basuma and Brighton still dominated Man United was absolutely amazing from them. And yeah, okay, maybe me and others are getting too excited about Brighton and Graham Potter, but Potter has proven over 2 seasons now that he can coach a team really well and improve players, sell them on for big profits, and then the team not be too damaged by their losses. So Brighton deserve a lot of credit, but for Man United, an absolute shambles from them. Gary Neville said it was unacceptable that their squad is like this at the start of this season, and you can't really disagree with that. And the fact that chasing after Marko Arnautovic is just a shambles. So Man United have a lot of work to do. Then the final game to talk about is Leicester 2, Brentford 2. Leicester going 2-0 up from a goal from a corner, and then Kieran and Drewsbury Hall, an excellent finish from him. But then when he came off and Leicester made all those substitutions, that's when Brentford started to get into the game. Ivan Toney, great goal from him, and then Josh Da Silva. I'm so happy for him because last season he was basically out injured the entire season. So the fact that he came off the bench, first game in this new season and scored, I'm really happy for him. Brentford overall drawing 2-2, and I am quite concerned about Leicester. You know, they haven't made any signings and they were 2-0 up in this game. So for them to let it slip like that and draw 2-2, is that now going to kind of set the marker for the rest of the season for Leicester? It is not ideal. But I really hope that you enjoyed the video, this quick Premier League review. If you did, please like, comment and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below about the Premier League season and what you think is going to happen. And I hope to see you all in the next video. Thank you very much.